end of the road, just pivot and go. Pivot and go.
Kent Clothier, welcome to the Pivot and Go podcast. Man, it is a pleasure and honor to have you on here. I was telling you offline, when I met you in person, thought you were amazing, really cool guy. Now that I've been stalking you and studying you, you're like 10 times cooler. So thank you for coming on this podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course, brother, man. My pleasure, man. The same. I can say the exact same about you. I appreciate all the kind words.
Okay, so start us off with a bang. Something that maybe not everybody knows about you. We know you as this real estate mogul, entrepreneurial, just game changer. Something a little different, Kent.
Something a little different. Probably most people don't know that I've been a vegan for the last 5 years. We can start off with that. Yeah, I mean, made a decision 5 years ago to go all plant-based, and I can honestly say it's kind of changed my life in many ways. So yeah, that's something people don't really when they come to learn and hang out with me and realize that I don't, eat meat. That kind of freaks them out a little bit, but it's all good.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hey, so on that note, are you a good chef? Like if I'm coming over there, I want to be eating something, because I've been around people that are vegans that like eat really good food, and then I've been stuck at eating tofu. So if you can make it taste good, I'm down with it.
Oh man, I mean, I'm not going to claim that I am, but I will tell you I live in San Diego, and if I don't know how to make it, I can go take you to a place where they will rock your world when it comes to vegan food or plant-based food, for sure.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. It's probably why you're in such great shape too. So, all right, as we go on the Pivot and Go podcast, we bring on people who have been through life pivots. Everybody has to be successful. You don't just get there. You don't just show up at the top. You have to go through different pivots in your life. Is there a pivot that stands out to you that was really like, okay, man, I'm stuck, made this small turn, this small change, and it just took off from there for you?
You know what, brother? I'm not even sure I would define it as a pivot as much as a seismic shift, right? I mean, the reality of it is that I was really, really fortunate at a very young age, meaning I started a business with my father when I was 17 that ultimately we built. He retired out of it, and then ultimately I kept building it along with some partners to the point where we're doing $1.8 billion a year in sales.
Oh my God.
7th largest privately held company in the state of Florida, all by the time I was 30 years old. And, you can imagine I was the guy, thank God there wasn't social media back in the day, back when I had done this, because I would have been the guy that we all make fun of online, the Lamborghinis, the watches, all the kind of nonsense. I would have 100% been that guy, right? All of the success was 100% my doing. All you had to do was ask me. I was that guy, right? Mm-hmm. And luckily, March 14th of 2000, I walked out of there, got in a riff with my partners, walked out and decided I was going to go and rebuild it all again on my own, and proceeded to fail miserably over the next 2 years, lost every dollar I had ever earned in my life, had burned every bridge on the way down, ultimately got divorced. I mean, it was a really, really rough time in my life. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And so ultimately in 2002 and 2003, when I started getting into real estate and could see my way clear that I had an opportunity to potentially build my life back, I decided then and there that I would never build it the way I had built it before. I would never be that guy again that ultimately built a business at the expense of his family. I took a lot of pride in being the guy that got to the office at 5 o'clock in the morning and left at 9 o'clock at night, had no relationship with my young son, had no relationship with my wife. To me, I wore all that as a badge of honor. And I can tell you that when I started building it back and got remarried and had kids and started, understanding as a man, what it meant to be a good man, a good human, I could actually have it all if I just focused. That was a big, big shift for me. And, I'm living proof now, that's all possible. And I can tell you that you can absolutely build an empire, but you can also do it and be super cool along the way. And so that was a big shift for me.
Kent, I really appreciate you sharing that. So many people need to hear that. in this world, we're so driven and being type A, and me and you both very driven. We want to do, make huge impact, reach a ton of people. But at the end of the day, if it's at the expense of the people that we love, our families, what is it worth in the end? So thank you, man.
It ain't worth it. I can tell you.
It's not. And what you hone in on there is what you talk about, living a life according to design rather than default. The default is just doing, trying to make more money, and you're never going to be happy. You can be Steve Jobs on your deathbed and you're not happy. But it's all about investing for your lifestyle, creating this ultimate life rhythm which you're living. Can you share what that, like, how does that look? How do we create a lifestyle, investing type of lifestyle that we know is something that's obviously purposeful, but it's something that fits with our rhythm? It's not, I guess you would say, too crazy over the top.
I mean, to me, look, man, I'm 51 years old. I've had the pleasure of building, like I said, a really successful business and losing it, and then having the opportunity to build it all back. And to your point, build a life that I'm super proud of along the way. So I speak from experience, and I can tell you that when you are intently focused on time versus money, and extracting the most out of the moments that you have, when you value the moments over money, it's amazing the way the world will get out of your way to serve up to you exactly what you want. And here's what I mean. So, to your point earlier, when you just kind of default to the grind, I'm going to go. We've all seen it. We've all heard it. We've all, you don't have to look very hard anymore to find people that are all talking about doing whatever it takes, right? Well, look, when you do with it whatever it takes in an intentional way, and you value the moments and the opportunities that you have to break bread with friends and to cherish your family and to do the things that really matter, your kids will never care whatsoever when you are on your deathbed. I can guarantee you they are not going to sit there, if it was to happen tomorrow, and say, man, I just wish dad or mom invested better with their dollars and we had a little more money. But I can guarantee you they will almost say, I would just wish I had more time with them. And knowing that that's going to be the end result and taking advantage of it now, building something, designing something where your time is the most important thing. I am going to value my time. I'm not going to give it away haphazardly. I'm going to make sure that I invest it wisely. I make sure that I'm super intentional, make sure I'm very focused on the outcomes I'm looking for with this very limited amount of time that I have. It's pretty shocking what you can accomplish. And again, you don't need to look very far to see a lot of really, really successful people in every walk of life, by the way, that have some way, somehow figured out how to extract an enormous amount of productivity, both personally and professionally, out of the same 24 hours a day that you and I get, right? You look up at somebody like Elon Musk, who's running 4 multi-billion-dollar, international corporations and come up with new ideas every day. And I'm not trying to say he's the example, but he is certainly an example of what can happen when you are, of what is possible from a time perspective. Most people are trying to figure out how to go make an extra 100 grand, 150 grand, or just how to get out of a 9 to 5, whatever it is in their life, just some whatever the next level it is. You don't have to look very hard to find people that some way, somehow they've figured out how to be wildly productive and super intentional because they are focused on the one thing that I mentioned, and that is time. They just understand the value of every single minute of every single day, and that none of them are promised. And that if they can get, if they can just be very intentional with it, that the world has a tendency to reward those that are, and equally to kind of ignore those that don't.
Man, I love that. Moments over money. And so much of us get caught up into that. And what you do a great job of is taking what your gift is, real estate, being able to build empires through real estate, but also showing people through that they can have impact in the whole, in a mindset, in a different type of mindset, not a limiting belief, not a you have to do what the world says. Like, you can be super dialed in with your time, get so much done, create great businesses, have great family. So with that being said, the question that everybody wants to know, and everybody says, you probably hear this all the time, oh, I dabble in real estate. I do real estate. Like, How, it sounds sexy to say that, but how can we make this real estate? How can we make it something that works for us? How can we make it an actual lifestyle so we can have more time instead of worrying about financial stress? Do you have tools that you give people for that?
Yeah, I mean it's a great question, and I'll answer it at a high level with everybody. Kind of the precursor that it's just like anything else. It requires some focus. It requires talking to people to really get down into your specific needs. But with that said, let me just talk about why real estate is such an amazing vehicle for doing that. Is because you would be extremely hard pressed. Well, first off, you have to take a step back, and you have to understand one basic concept to understand the power of real estate, or the power of investing in general, and that is, as Einstein called it, the eighth wonder of the world, which is uninterrupted compounding interest. When you have a dollar that is sitting out there and it is earning interest uninterrupted year after year after year after year, and you plug reasonable amounts of money into a wealth calculator, and you'll get really excited about what can happen with your money over time. That J curve that is presented, right? That $50,000 invested year after year after year, you look up and in 20 years you've invested $1 million, but that same $1 million is now worth $19 million, right? I mean, it is shocking what can happen in real estate, and it's an amazing vehicle to make that happen. Why? Because you'd be very hard pressed to find another investment class where you can go and the bank will actually loan you 75% of whatever your investment is. So, they don't do that for you on stocks. They don't do that for you on crypto. They don't do that on it's very, very rare. So think about it. Here's one thing the banks understand very well, and that they want to go, and you can go find a $500,000 property, give or take, or $400,000 property, and you put $100,000 into it. But now you are earning income, and you are earning, a return on a $400,000 investment that you really only put $100,000 into. So I'll use it in an example of a rental property. You've got $100,000 in the market on a $400,000 property. It would be bringing in somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 a year gross income to you. Right now, after your taxes and interest, debt service, all that, you're probably going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of, let's just call it $20,000 on it. Well, $20,000 on $100,000 is a 20% return on your money. Man. That's a substantial return. And by the way, it is completely secured in a piece of real estate. It is not some stock that's appearing on a screen. Somebody else is paying your debt. The government gives very, very lucrative tax breaks on real estate because the tax code was written by wealthy real estate investors, right? So real estate is an asset class that is rewarded tremendously in the tax code. So you get tax benefits, you get cash flow from it every month. Somebody else is paying the debt. And oh, by the way, the real estate over the long haul is going up in value. So you're making money in several different ways on a single investment. Now, if you do that year after year, historically, over and over and over, you will look up in a very short period of time, all things considered, and have a tremendous amount of income coming in, but you will have also created, and this is the big difference, you have created wealth.
Big time.
A lot of people out there have conquered the income game, and they think they're rich. They're making $1 million a year, right? They have not conquered the wealth game, and that is making your money, putting your money to work to where your money is making you money. Your money is out on the street, bringing friends back over and over and over again. That's how you get wealthy. So when you understand how money grows over time, and you will get really interested very quickly in getting in the real estate game. And that's why, to your point, Dave, when you hear people out there talking, well, I do a little bit of real estate, there's a lot of wealthy people that can, they say that because of all the reasons I just said. And whether it's they're investing, $1 million a year, or they're investing $100,000 a year, or $10 million a year. It doesn't matter. The returns and the opportunities are all the same, regardless. And it is an amazing way to get very, very excited about becoming wealthy. And again, wealth as defined as I've created a significant net worth. I'm creating a tremendous amount of cash flow that's coming to me. That's allowing me to do the one thing that we talked about at the beginning. I get to control my time.
Yes.
I don't have to do anything. I get the options of doing everything.
That's good. I don't have to do anything. I get the options of doing everything. Woohoo! That's really good. I love that concept of income versus wealth. Most people don't hear that, don't see that. And that's just kind of how you think, man. You go against the grain, you go against the what the world is saying, herd mentality, and think outside the box. And obviously it's served you very well. Are there some things that the lies that people are getting fed right now that we just need to be like, okay, I need to shed this. That way I can take the next step forward? Because I think we all, obviously at the core, want to have financial freedom, but more of a financial freedom lifestyle. So we're able to make those choices instead of the have to. So are there any lies that stand out there to real estate investing that
I would tell you, you know what, man, that's a great question. I would tell you that probably the biggest epiphany that I could share with anybody here is that and we've all heard it, but when you actually plug into it, I call it separating fact from fiction, that you need to understand as fast as humanly possible, whether you're 20 years old or you're 60 years old, I don't care, but as fast as humanly possible, you need to understand that basically every piece of information that is coming to you from the media, I don't care what it is, it doesn't matter, is largely contrived to serve an agenda. It is designed to exert some type of power or to make you feel powerless. So whether it is, oh my God, you need to get your home refinanced right now, or oh my God, the market is going to crash, right? Oh my God, are we on the verge of a housing bubble? All these things, that make for amazing headlines. The reality of it is that real estate is, when it is done in any investing, quite frankly, when it is done in a methodical and planned and intentional way, where you are executing on your plan day in and day out, none of that stuff matters. It's separating, it's just noise and it's just confusing. It's all designed to control the masses. But the people that excel at anything in life just ignore all of that. They have a plan. They understand exactly what they're doing. It doesn't matter to me who's in office. It doesn't matter to me what, anybody's saying. I don't care. What I care about is, can I execute on my plan? Can I go find investments in any market that serve, they serve my purpose, where I understand exactly what I'm investing in. I can bring value to a community. I can bring value to my own wealth plan. I can bring value to all the things that actually, those investments, there's 330 million people in the United States. There's 110 million households in the United States. If you listen to, I'll give you a great example of this. If you listen to the media right now, just in the housing market, and again, you can find people right now that are talking about, oh my God, the crash is coming. You can find other markets where, oh my God, it's on fire, right? Doesn't matter what you're looking for, you're going to be able to find it. Here's what I'll tell you. And because of that, people will go out there and say, man, you can't find any good deals. And when you approach anything with a preconceived notion, you will get a confirmation bias. I promise you. You will find exactly what you're looking for. The reality of it is that 175,000 houses a month are sold at 60% of Zillow, right?
Wow.
If you listen to all the media, there's no discounts to be had anywhere in the market. The reality of it is 35% of the houses sold every single month are being sold for all cash, and they're being sold at a 30 to 40% discount. You don't hear about that because the people that are too busy running businesses like me just got our heads down running businesses. Yep. You keep your head up in the clouds and get controlled by all this misinformation. It's really, you can get sucked down that rabbit hole really quick. My advice is get the facts. Get with people that are operating at the level that you want to operate at, and get around them, get in the room with them, and get the information from them, and get a plan and start working it. Because paying attention to all the, the clickbait junk that's on that's on the internet does not serve you.
Wow. Yes, everything has an agenda, and understanding that is a big paradigm shift. I love what you just said, man, because you hear all this kind of stuff, and it's easy to just fall into the trap of what the media is saying. So to have that perspective and know that you have a plan, it's going to take time, it takes daily steps, it is consistency, and then what you wrapped it up with, being around people that are of that level and higher level and driven. like our mutual friends, Joel Marion, Ed Milet, like you surround yourself with just amazing people.
Well, I mean, dude, we could sit here all day and talk about this, but
Yeah.
you and I mean, if we talked about it for 30 seconds, let's just for once think about how different the conversations are when you are in those rooms. Like when you and I had dinner with Ed Milet and Dave Meltzer and Erwin McManus and others. You cannot be a small thinker when you are around high level people. It just doesn't exist. The conversations, you are forced to level up. And if you want to get to the next level, then get in the rooms that force you to get better. Hang out with people that are having the right conversations versus, the small-minded people, which certainly exist, that are sitting out there talking about things that are just trivial in nature and don't matter.
Totally, man. That dinner was so powerful. Those conversations were deep. Like, there's just no way you can just be a fly on the wall and sit back. You have to be of that level. And it challenges you, but that's what we need. Man, you have an unbelievable mindset, and I could talk to you all day, and I can't wait till we get to have another one of those dinners soon. Everybody in their crazy schedules, but we will make it happen. So I'm going to throw you on the rapid fire hot seat, Kent. So whatever comes to your mind, these can be quick answers. Hit them. Do you have a favorite mindset quote? You've already dropped some one-liners that have been phenomenal, but do you have a favorite mindset quote? Hey, it could be the time is now right behind you.
Look, I'm not gonna. One that I have a tendency to say a lot. In fact, have it tattooed on my arm. Is mediocrity is the enemy.
Ooh.
I mean, along with the time is now. I am just allergic to mediocrity.
Oh, I love it. Couldn't agree more, man. What does leaving a legacy mean to you? Not necessarily like we were talking about a big billboard that the world sees, but what does a legacy left mean to Kent Clothier?
Legacy for me is something I think about pretty much every day. I get asked a lot. Yep. I get to ask this question a lot, and financial legacy is one thing, but to me, I wrap it up in. I get asked why if I've got all this going on, why do I still do what I do? And we look at people like like our friend Ed Milet, and people could ask the same thing to him. You're making all this money, you've got all this. Why do it's about impact, right? And so, if I were to pass away today, a thought that I have every day and why I keep going is I want to know that I've created such an impact in their life that they would actually get on an airplane, fly to San Diego, feel this very compelled to make sure that they walked up to my little girl sitting on the front row next to my casket and shake their hands and just say, I just want you to know your dad mattered.
Dude.
And I picture that constantly. So anytime I'm thinking about backing off or giving up or whatever the case may be, I want to make sure that happens. That to me is a legacy. That's a life worth living. That somebody's that thoughtful and that considerate to my daughters that they would do that.
Dude, I love that. That will happen. Now, hopefully you will have many, 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 many years ahead of you, but you've already made a massive impact on so many people, man. So you're just gravy on top from here on out. So here's a question you probably don't get asked a lot. If you were to have a dinner party and you could hang out, have conversation with 3 people, dead or alive, anybody, who are you inviting? And also, most importantly, what are you eating?
Oh, man.
Tough.
I would love to sit down with, look, I have a tendency I would love to sit down. I would love to have dinner with Muhammad Ali. I would love to have dinner with Steve Jobs. I would love to have dinner with Bruce Lee. I mean, these are people that to me changed the world, right? These are people that really decided to take on, and I would prepare them, or I'm not even sure I would be qualified to prepare, but I would make sure that we had an amazing vegan meal by the top chef in the world to come in here and blow their minds. But to me, I have a tendency to really gravitate towards rebels, man. I love people that have just truly just don't see the world the same way that anybody else. And when they left, the world was significantly different. And there's a lot of them. But if I had to pick 3, there's 3 right there. I could probably pick 30 that I admire.
Man,
like that.
I'm so on board with that. Disruptive action is what the world needs. We don't need so many yes men in this world. We need people that will actually stand up and make change and not be afraid of it. So Great.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy to see guys and girls like that through, in hindsight, through the lens of history. But you have to go back to when they were being who they were, and they were completely rebellious. There was nothing. They had no idea they were going to get to where they got to where we'd be talking about them now, right?
Totally.
So when you understand what they were up against and the fact that they left that kind of impact on the world, it's pretty incredible.
Man, absolutely, man. Hey, how can we all follow you, support anything that you're doing, basically stalk Kent Clothier?
I'm easy to find on all the social channels, man. It's Kent Clothier. So at Kent Clothier on Instagram, it's Kent Clothier on Facebook. You can even go to my website, kentclothier.com. And I'm out there, and don't be bashful. Be sure to hit me up. Tell me that you've picked up on and started following me from this show, and I'd love to engage with you and see how I can help you.
Dude, you're the man. And as we sign off here, can you leave the audience with one just piece of advice? Drop the mic. Can be one word that you would give somebody if they are stuck in the situation that they're in, can't see a way out. You give them that piece of advice, they're able to pivot and go.
Focus on, if you're in that situation, one of the best pieces of advice I could ever give you is focus on the opportunity. Don't focus on the obstacle.
Yeah.
If you are feeling overwhelmed, I would say chances are better than not that you are focused on the wrong thing. Because I tell you, whether it's David, whether it's anybody that's ever been on this podcast, including myself, we certainly have run up against more than our fair share of challenges. And the way you overcome them is you don't focus on the challenge. You focus on the opportunity that's on the other side of that challenge. And so don't focus on the obstacles. The obstacles are what will weigh you down. Go focus on the opportunity to do something great.
Man, that's a great word pivot right there. Instead of obstacle, opportunity. Kent, man, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. Like, just your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, but your drive to continue to make impact you got me juiced up over here, man. I want to line up that dinner with the crew here again soon, so we'll make that happen.
Let's do it, man.
Thank you, Kent.
Let's make it happen. Love you, brother. Appreciate you.
You too, man.